Welcome to the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions, now in its 24th season. Our panel features a longtime Penn State media and NitWits tag team, Neil Rudell of the Altoona-Mirror and Mark Brennan of Lions 24/7 with Fight on State. Between them, they've covered Penn State for more than 75 years. The NitWits are hosted by WTAJ's Anderly Penwell, and each week we welcome a former Nittany Lion as our special guest analyst. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Star Beverage, no matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you. By NovaCare, Altoona and State College, we proudly support Penn State football. By Quattrini Rafferty, attorneys at law, Michael Rooch, peace of mind after an injury or illness. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona-Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday.
Welcome to Nittany Nation Overtime.
Hello and welcome to Nittany Nation Overtime. I'm Anderly Penwell and I'm joined by the NitWits, Mark Brennan, Neil Rudell, and our very special guest today, Sandy Barbour, Vice President for Intercollegiate Athletics at Penn State. Welcome back, everyone.
Thank you.
And Sandy,
glad to be here.
Thank you for coming. So let's just get right into it. Neil, do you want to start us off?
Well, sure. I mean, a lot of things. We appreciate Sandy coming here. I know you're on got a whole bunch of hats you wear at all levels, Penn State and beyond. And you've made time for us. We appreciate that. And I know a lot of people looking forward to hearing what you have to say about different issues that are going on. Let's start with football. I know you've said that you don't mind, not necessarily like, but don't mind when your coaches get attention. So, I mean, we'll throw that out there. James, his name has come up again with some other places, and, it seems a lot of people think maybe this is, could be the time, who knows. How do you handle that as an AD? Do you have a lot of conversations with them? Do you developing a list of just a contingency?
Well, let me go back to your original statement, which is that I like it when our coaches get attention. I like it because of how it happens. Well, if we're not having success, then there's not going to be a lot of interest in our coaches. So the fact that in order to have interest in our coaches means we're having success, that I'll take every time. And how we handle it is how we handle everything every day, which is to make sure that we're committed to our programs to the degree that our coaches want to stay. And I think we've been under James, we've invested heavily. It's helped us get the results. Obviously, James and his leadership, the staff he's put together, the way he then and that staff are developing our student athletes, our current student athletes, is to me just amazing. And both on the field and off the field. And then you look at obviously what we're doing from a recruiting standpoint. So James knows that he's very much appreciated. He's wanted here, and as we have at all times made sure that he's in a good position, both with what we're investing in the program and what we're investing in him.
Sandy, I know we're going to get into facilities in a little bit, but back in February, I think it was, the Board of Trustees voted overwhelmingly to approve the ability to raise funds and raise money for some of your key facilities. But some of the very high-profile people on that board voted against it, and some people with well-known names. Do you worry at all that there's a perception there that some people are kind of not all on board with doing what you need to do? Because we know it costs a lot of money to have a top 10 football program.
What matters to me is that the Lash project, the remaining pieces of the Lash project got approved, and that construction is underway. And we have the opportunity with that to show not only our current staff, our current student athletes, but also prospective student athletes that we're committed to their success, and that's a big signal for them.
And on the other side of it, though, you had Brandon Short and some other, and LeVar Arrington, a former player, saying they need even more money. So how do you strike that balancing act as the AD? Because what's too much and what's not enough? I guess is that the trick of being an athletic director and an administrator?
I think that's what the athletic director is there for, is to decide what's necessary to continue to advance success for any particular program. We're talking about our football program in this particular case, but it's a matter of me in conjunction, frankly, with James, deciding what we need to have the kind of success that we've all stated are our goals. And then move forward, have the ability to move forward, which in this case, from a facilities project, is the purview of our Board of Trustees, and they gave us the thumbs up to go.
Did you guys have much reaction? There was a national piece that was assessed, where all the schools rank in the perception of facilities, and I think did Penn State come in about the top 15? What was your perception of that? Or
well,
where do you see?
There are lots of polls like that, so
Right.
I'm not exactly sure which one that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I don't worry a whole lot about because people's perspectives are different. So we might be 15 in one poll, we might be 3 in another. It's a little bit like the AP poll, or the coaches poll, or the whoever's poll. We're setting about what is it that we need at Penn State? What is it that our students need for their success? Everybody's situation is a little bit different, and that's what we've done. So I'm very pleased with where we are and our ability to not only provide conditions for success for our current student athletes, but also capture the attention of recruits, which obviously from a football perspective we're doing, as we currently rank number 1 in the class of 22.
How did you come out of, knock on wood, hopefully we're on our way out of the COVID era.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. But you were very upfront throughout the whole thing that student athlete safety was the primary focus, as it should be. But obviously, the financial end of it was probably tricky to navigate as well. Where are you guys now that it looks like, again, knock on wood, that that we're kind of getting to the other side of it, hopefully?
We are inching our way there, right?
Yeah.
The way I've talked about it, certainly internally and a little bit externally, is last year COVID was the umbrella that affected everything else we did. We plugged in, competition. We plugged in training and learning, and this year we're back to a more familiar. I hesitate to say normal, a more familiar overarching, which is preparing students for a lifetime of impact. And COVID certainly, and health and safety as it relates to COVID, health and safety is always there. But COVID is one of those plugs that we're having to plug into. I give all the credit to Penn State Health, who is obviously our medical provider, our trainers, our coaches, for the care with which they, and the seriousness with which they took the advice and the regulations and the requirements. We really got through last year very well. We're in very good shape this year. We've had very little infection. Again, we continue to take it seriously, take the advice of our trainers and our physicians and the infectious disease world, and we're moving forward. Obviously, there was an impact last year from a financial standpoint. We're fortunate that we had some reserves in order to rely on. We reduced our expenses by about $30 million, and we needed every penny of that because our revenue loss was somewhere between 80 and 90 million.
Awesome. Well,
Wrap you around,
yeah, well, when we come back, we'll have more with Sandy Barbour. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
The NitWits are being brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Salaney Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Hi, and welcome back to Nittany Nation Overtime. We are the NitWits, and we're joined by Sandy Barbour, VP for Intercollegiate Athletics at Penn State. So let's just get right into it.
Yeah, I mean, fresh from the Iowa game, just wondered, as an AD's reaction to, you've now seen the coaches kind of take shots at each other, and just kind of the fallout from that game. That we haven't really seen that much of that. And what's your reaction? And do you have a follow-up of damage control with the ADs from Iowa, or does Big Ten get involved?
So, I think the whole thing is really unfortunate. I think as you look at the situation, number one, Iowa is a team that huddles. You've seen as no huddle and up tempo has come into the game over the course of, let's say, the last 20 years. You've seen some of concern around players feigning injury, but it's always been versus against an up tempo no huddle team. I think we all know it's not something that James or his staff would teach or even condone. And then you look at the other piece, which is some of the true injuries and the non-return to the field for some of those student athletes. So to me, it's really unfortunate. I'm going to defend our players. Our student athletes. I'm going to defend our coaches. All the evidence is there that those were not situations for anything other than legitimate injuries, and I think that speaks for itself.
And with the fans booing, of course, you said you were in Iowa City. What is your reaction to seeing that actually happening live? I mean, it was everything from the ball blowing out the tee twice to the actual fans themselves. What in that moment was that like?
Well, I actually think you've said it. The ball blowing off the tee getting booed because we blew it off, right? Off the tee. No, obviously. So I think it's, I'll be honest, I was very surprised because typically I give the Iowa fans a lot of credit for being very well educated and being great college football fans. They weren't on Saturday.
Do you follow up with the administration, or you just hope that it goes away?
Well, I have not had a conversation with the Iowa athletic director because he doesn't necessarily control his fans, but I think James's comments have been stellar. I think they've been right on point, and I think that those stand on behalf of defense of not only our football program but our student athletes.
Has the Big Ten or the NCAA had any comments to you?
The Big Ten has not, and the NCAA would not.
What's your take, Sandy, on the way this football season has gone in general? Obviously some struggles last year, and I think we could probably connect the dots and say the difficult circumstances, played a role in that. But what do you think about the way the team has kind of bounced back, but then obviously had a tough loss at Iowa?
Yeah, I think what we've seen out of Penn State football this fall has been spectacular. I think clearly a lot of what ailed us last year has been addressed by our head coach, our coaching staff, and and our student athletes individually and collectively, and kind of resolved, knowing that they have the talent to have the kind of season we're having. Look, Saturday was a great college football game in booing aside, in a great environment, 3 versus 4. I mean, I know going into that day, we were all like, man, if this is what you train for, this is what you work for, and unfortunately, due to a variety of circumstances, some obviously out of our control, we came up short. But I do think that as a team and as a program, we know where we were in that game. We know the circumstances that in large part prevented us from winning, and frankly looking forward to potentially an opportunity to face that team in another opportunity down the road this season.
All right, thank you, Sandy. And when we come back after a break, we'll hear more from the athletic director and more comments.
The NitWits are being brought to you by RE/MAX Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Star Beverage, no matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Hi, and welcome back to Nittany Nation Overtime. We're joined by Sandy Barbour, the AD. So, Coach Mike Shrewsbury, it's his first season on the court. What has impressed you so far about him, or just any other thoughts about Coach
Really
Shrewsbury?
excited about Micah and his staff, and getting started here. See what the guys look like on the court against competition. I've been to a few practices and really like what I see there. He's a teacher. He's a player development guy, both from his experiences in college as well as in the NBA, and certainly, and this is starting to sound familiar from a Penn State perspective, right? They've recruited really well, and so I think we're going to be excited about what we see on the court this year, but the future looks really, really bright.
Sandy, soon after he was hired, like a bunch of guys entered the transfer portal, and fans are like, "Oh my God, the program." But is this the new normal where, listen, I mean, guys have the opportunity to transfer, but then you have to make up for it on the other end, right? By being able to bring kids in. Nobody may like it, but it's kind of what it is, right?
Well, it's a couple of things.
Yeah.
Number one, I think yes. Unfortunately, this is the new normal, especially when there's a coaching change. But you see it. You see it in a variety of sports, but we saw a lot of it in men's basketball last year. And we talk about recruiting. Well, Micah's best recruiting may have come right away with convincing Seth and Johnny to come out of the portal and stay. And so I think that's where the momentum started, and it's just continued.
Getting back to the transition back to fans at Beaver Stadium, how do you think the electronic ticketing is going?
I think it's gone fairly well. Certainly there is a different adoption principle, if you will, based on maybe age, maybe based on your technological tech savviness.
Why are you looking at me?
Yeah, and everybody's looking at Neil.
Because I'm talking to you, right? Not about the tech savvy piece, but the fact of the matter is, when it was quote voluntary in 19, we have 53% of our bowl tickets people use mobile. Just right out of the gate. It is from a COVID perspective, which is really what pushed us there. It is really the best practice. Handle tickets, handle things less. And certainly it gives us an opportunity also from a database standpoint and an information standpoint to understand our customers better and be able to serve them better.
Do you foresee, Sandy, I think, I may be wrong on this, but I think Penn State is moving toward having administrators and instructors and staffers having to be vaccinated. Do you see a spot in the future where that's going to be the case for fans? We see it with some states that are doing that. Is that something that you think would happen at Penn State potentially?
So yesterday, Penn State announced
Right.
that based on the
Thanks for helping me with that.
on the federal Biden's federal mandates as it relates to federal contracts and grants, that all employees would need to be vaccinated. So obviously, our visitors to venues is a different issue. We have maintained all along that we would continue to monitor kind of COVID in the area and do what we felt, either from advice from the CDC or from our infectious disease experts, that we would do what we felt was in the best interest of protecting fans and our community. And frankly, we haven't seen a lot of uptick. We haven't seen any uptick. We haven't seen concerns in the statistics in the community that would lead us to go there.
Real quick hitter on wrestling. Whenever wrestling moves to the Jordan Center, is there expanded opportunities for them, or is it comfortable just to have is it just one this year?
There's going to be one this year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that the ceiling for the number of home matches at the BJC?
We're going to do just the one in the BJC, and the rest of them are going to be in Venerable Rec Hall.
Is there a reason that you wouldn't have multiple, I guess, is what we're wondering about?
Yeah, we took a look at the schedule. We took a look at other events in the BJC, which obviously are our two basketballs, as well as other things that the Bryce Jordan Center management are doing, and it just didn't work for us.
Okay, sounds good. Cool. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
The NitWits are being brought to you by NovaCare, Altoona and State College. We proudly support Penn State football. By Quattrini Rafferty, attorneys at law. Michael Rooch, peace of mind after an injury or illness. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Hi, and welcome back to Nittany Nation Overtime. We are joined by Sandy Barbour, the AD at Penn State. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. So just to wrap up in our last block, rest of the Big Ten season, getting your crystal ball looking forward, what do you think the rest of the divisional play is going to look like for the Nittany Lions?
Well, I'll say this. The Big Ten in general, and certainly the Big Ten East, it's a gauntlet. I mean, everywhere you look, really talented, solid teams. And whether they're coming to your place or you're going there, you know it's going to be a challenge week in and week out. And so this is, we've all adopted it, and that's James's 1-0. And we're just trying to go 1-0 with Illinois next week.
He brought up last week about maybe rethinking the divisional format. Where do you stand on that?
As we look at the alliance, but with the in conjunction with the ACC and the Pac-12, that certainly is a possibility. There's a lot that goes into that conversation, and not just the alliance and not just scheduling, but it's around how would we, if we were to get rid of the divisions, how then would you schedule with 14 teams? Would you do 9? Certainly, there's been talk, at least in the media, talk of 8, which is what a couple of other conferences already play. So it's a lot to digest and figure out what's best for the Big Ten and what's best for college football.
When do you think we start seeing the impact of the alliance? And are there, I know there are sports that are more, you're able to kind of get those going a little bit more quickly than maybe a football where things are scheduled out so far in advance.
I think we'll know more this spring. We'll really dig into it together with those other two partners and frankly with our television partners. We have there's already some significant inventory both in football and the two basketballs with playing non-conference with those two partners. So we'll try to have it have as much an impact as possible as soon as possible, but really hard to tell at this point.
You mentioned Venerable Rec Hall. I have good memories of Rec Hall. Is there any talk at all? You played a basketball game there a number of years ago for select men's and women's games, select, not regular, to go back to Rec Hall occasionally?
we're looking at all of that as we have continued to, whether it's to take events in all sports to different places, some of it having to do with families, some of it having to do with recruiting impact, and playing basketball games in Rec Hall has been something that we've done every once in a while, and it's been a big success. So it certainly is still on that list of things that we go back to and figure out what opponents, what dates, what times, what years make the most sense.
So one big giant puzzle, basically.
Yes, it is.
Well, thank you so much for watching Nittany Nation Overtime. We will
Thank you,
see you
Sandy.
next week, and thank you, Sandy, for coming on.
The NitWits are being brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Salaney Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Star Beverage, no matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you. By NovaCare, Altoona and State College, we proudly support Penn State Football. By Quattrini Rafferty, Attorneys at Law, Michael Rooch, peace of mind after an injury or illness. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.